Come one, come all, to today's iceberg video, the Antarctic iceberg. We're going to be diving headfirst into the freezing cold waters of this crudely drawn iceberg I actually managed to put together. Much like other icebergs, you know the drill. The sky is all common sense and fact, but the lower you go, the more unusual and strange the iceberg becomes. Tier 1. The sky. Starting off first, we have the most obvious one, dry and cold. Eastern Antarctic Plateau can reach the temperatures below zero of negative 157 degrees Fahrenheit, or for my friends across the river, negative 94 degrees Celsius. Antarctica is actually so dry, it's considered a desert with very low precipitation. No polar bears. Yeah, so researching this video, I'm pretty surprised there's no polar bears, because polar as in poles on a planet, north and south, and there's no polar bears down there, so I kind of thought that was a little weird. But yeah, but at the same time though, there's no polar pops down there either, so yeah. No native people, probably because it's cold and humans don't like cold. At least the sane ones don't like cold. I don't like cold. I don't think there's a lot of stuff down there to sustain people. But I personally think it's too cold down there, and that's why there's no humans. That's just my best guess. The fifth largest continent is Antarctica, right behind South America and right in front of the European continent. Pretty cool. Antarctica's pretty big. Antarctica also covers 9.19% of Earth's landmass, so about 10%. 200 million penguins. And I just noticed I spelled penguins wrong with a Q, and it's supposed to be with a G. Please don't make fun of me. Let's go over some of these flightless, adorable-looking meat sacks of a bird called a penguin. There's a couple of them that live in Antarctica and around, called the king penguin, the emperor penguin, I'm not even going to try to pronounce that penguin, the chinstrap penguin, the rockhopper penguin, the macaroni penguin, okay, the Magellanic penguin, and the Gentoo penguin. Super cute. I love them all. Probably one of my favorite things to see at the zoo. And low-key though, I think that the rockhopper might be my spirit animal. A couple of fun facts about these penguin things is they poop for about every 20 minutes, and they can't fly, but they're excellent swimmers apparently. About 206 million years ago, Antarctica broke off of the supercontinent called Gondwana land, and that's whenever the continental drift set in, and it drifted all the way to the South Pole, where it remained a frozen wasteland for over 200 million years. So yeah, dinosaurs were definitely around then, right? Maybe? Probably, maybe? I don't know. Probably. We're now entering Tier 2, known as the surface of the iceberg. Alexander Francis Henry von Tunzelman, a New Zealand crew member of the Norwegian whaling ship Antarctic, was part of the first group known with certainty to have set foot on the mainland of Antarctica, at Cape Codere on the 24th of January, 1895. But 74 years earlier, on the 7th of February 1821, by a journal entry, John Davis could have been the very first person to set foot on Antarctica, but it's all up to interpretation. Nothing set in stone. we got my boy Royal Amundsen. Pretty cool name. But he was a key figure of the period known as the heroic age of Antarctic exploration. He was born in Borg Osfold, Norway. Amundsen began his career as a polar explorer as a first mate on the Antarctic expedition of 1897 to 1899. From 1903 to 1906, he led the first expedition to successfully traverse the Northwest Passage. In 1909, Amundsen began planning for a South Pole expedition. He left Norway in the June of 1910 on the ship Fram and reached Antarctica in January 1911. His party established a camp of the Bay of Whales and a series of supply depots on the barrier, known as the Ross Ice Shelf today. Ross Ice Shelf. Try saying that 10 times fast, I dare you. I bet you failed. Before setting out for the pole in October, the party of 5, led by Amundsen, became the first to reach the South Pole on the 14th of December, 1911. Flowers. All along the western peninsula and Orkney Islands, flowers bloom, along with Antarctic hairgrass. The national flower of Antarctica is a small cluster of yellow flowers known as pearlwort. Other than the only 2 flowering plants that still grow on Antarctica are algae, lichens, whatever, mosses, and fungi. I'm just as shocked as you guys. Flowers exist in Antarctica. Wow. Next up, we got boo global warming. Boo, bad, it's bad. But yeah, global warming has affected Antarctica so much the past couple of decades that glaciers are melting. Icebergs. This video is an iceberg, and I just said iceberg. That's funny. But anyways, yeah. So, if enough things melt and if Antarctica turns green, that's not good, because what it could do is it can release like some kind of like ancient virus or bacteria, and it can just mess up ecosystems, and that's not good for like anything, I don't think, in my opinion. Antarctica contains around 70 to 90% of all the fresh water on Earth. So I don't know what that Fiji water company's talking about Earth's finest water, but I kind of want me some Antarctica water now instead of Fiji water. Tier 3, under the water. In the McMurdo Dry Valleys of Victoria Land, East Antarctica, a waterfall in Antarctica that appears blood red due to iron-rich nanospheres that oxidize when exposed to air, gives it that orangey red rusted color that is depicted to be blood. The discovery was in 1911 by British geologist Thomas Griffith Taylor. Out of blood falls. The water emerges clear from beneath the glacier's tongue, but it comes out as it touches the oxygen, it begins to oxidize. So the water, whenever it comes out, is clear just like normal water, but as soon as oxygen hits it, it oxidizes. The pyramid.
The pyramid.
The Antarctic Pyramid was first discovered by British Antarctic expedition between 1910 and 1913. Although it does strikingly resemble the pyramids of Giza, more than likely it's just a mountaintop that's submerged in, ice, snow, and whatnot. So more than likely it's just a mountaintop that's peeking out. Diamond dust is a pretty rare weather phenomena. A cloud of tiny ice crystals that falls from a clear sky and below freezing temperatures usually forms in cold, calm weather when a rapidly cooling air mass freezes humidity in the warmer air above. Yes, even the coldest place on Earth has volcanoes. Mount Erebus is the southernmost active volcano on Earth, located on Ross Island in the Ross Dependency in Antarctica. With a summit elevation of 3,792 meters, or for us awesome American people, 12,441 feet. It is the second most prominent mountain in Antarctica after Mount Vinson, and the second highest volcano in Antarctica after the dormant Mount Sidley. It is the highest point on Ross Island, which is also home to three inactive volcanoes, Mount Terror, Mount Bird, and Mount Terra Nova. I love Terra Nova. That's a pretty cool name. It makes Ross Island the sixth highest island on Earth. So at around 90 million years, give or take, ago, Antarctica was a rainforest, home to fauna, trees, plants, birds, maybe other animals, many insects, and now it's a frozen wasteland, probably because of climate change. You know, continental drift. Supercontinents aren't really supercontinents anymore, so they all drifted apart. Earth's axis tilted, and now it's just like a just frozen wasteland now. Under the ice, a hidden landscape of valleys, canyons, lakes, mountains, and volcanoes, and much more. This landscape has been frozen in place for millions of years. A vast landscape of valleys and high mountain peaks have been discovered under the East Antarctic ice sheet. There are more than 400 known lakes under the ice, and more are being discovered every year. The Mary Brid Land in West Antarctica is a large formation of nothing but volcanic rock. But not only lakes, canyons, mountains, and valleys lie under the ice, so do anemones, amphipods, fish, worms, jellyfish, and even krill. And how might we know that, you might add? Well, scientists use a radio echo sounding and satellite images to map out the landscape underneath the thick ice and water. The Bed Machine Antarctica map is one of the most comprehensive maps of the under ice landscape. So there's your answer. The Antarctic ozone hole is a yearly thinning of the ozone layer in the southern hemisphere stratosphere during spring. It's a metaphor for the area where ozone levels fall below 220 Dobson units, a historical threshold. The hole develops in August and dissipates in late November, and the cause of it is us, humans. Give yourself a pat on the back because you're destroying the planet. Great job. The Ross Ice Shelf in Antarctica sings due to vibrations caused by wind blowing over snow dunes. The vibrations create a low-pitched drum-like sound that's similar to the didgeridoo or a 1950s sci-fi movie soundtrack. Wind blows over sand dunes on the ice shelf. The snow dunes are created by the wind wiping across the ice's surface, and the force of the wind on the snow generates seismic waves, creating that humming sound that's called singing. These vibrations are way too low for humans to hear, but once you speed them up, using technology that humans make, because we do that, you can end up hearing the humming. Tier 4. The Deep. The San Telmo was a Spanish ship that sank in 1819 in the Drake Passage while traveling to South America. It is one of the most well-known and documented wrecks in Antarctica and may have been the first European ship to actually reach the continent Antarctica. It is believed that the entire crew, All 644 of them were wiped out and killed because of bad weather. Through the Drake's Passage, the ship was never discovered. But on an Argentinian expedition in 1960, remains of the shipwreck on Livingston Island and the South Shetland Islands were found. On the first expedition, Robert Falcon Scott set a new southern record by marching to latitude 82 degrees south and discovered the Antarctic Plateau, on which the South Pole is located, or Antarctica. On the second venture, Scott led a party of 5 which reached the South Pole on the 17th January 1912. Less than 5 weeks after Amundsen's South Pole expedition. We already went over him a couple tiers ago. On the return journey from the pole, a planned meeting with supporting dog teams from base camp failed, despite Scott's written instructions, and at distance of 162 miles, or, for my British friends across the pond, 261 kilometers from their base camp at Hut Point, and approximately 12.5 miles, or 20.1 kilometers from the next depot. Scott and his companions unfortunately passed. When Scott's and his party's bodies were discovered, they had in their possession the first Antarctic fossils ever discovered. The fossils were determined to be from the Glossopteris tree and proven that Antarctica was once a forested and humid area whenever it was a supercontinent at the time. Because Antarctica is so dry, with very little precipitation, there are many fires that wipe across its landscape, including building fires, which is pretty bad, if you ask me. If you ask me, Antarctica would probably be like the last place you'd think like a fire would start, but no, Antarctica actually has its own fire station, and its own fire department, McMurdo Station, which is pretty cool. Hats off to you heroes over there, fighting fires in the South Pole. And unfortunately, there has been many building fires in the South Pole, Antarctica, with many casualties, like one on August 3rd, 1960, a fire wiped by strong wind struck the Soviet Mirny station, killing 8. Another fire on June 21st, 2020. There damaged several labs, but no one was injured, thankfully. But there has been many more fires and casualties, and it's just sad all around. Like, you're just down there doing your research in the South Pole, having a great time, It's Antarctica. People don't get to go there a whole lot. It's cool. But, fire coming by, it's really bad, and my heart goes out to everyone who suffered from that. But, yeah. In 2019, an aircraft departed from Patagonia, Chile. Bound for King George Island in Antarctica, the flight was intended to provide supplies to a base in Chilean Antarctic territory and to bring personnel to inspect a floating fuel supply line and other equipment at the base. The Chilean Air Force flies from Patagonia to King George Island monthly. Radio contact with the plane was lost later on into the flight. Many countries helped in the search for the Chilean C-130 crash, including the United States, United Kingdom, Uruguay, Argentina, Brazil, and Chile. But because of the rough seas and poor visibility, unfortunately, the search was hampered. 24 hours into the search, the Brazilian Navy ship began to discover debris from the aircraft that were found floating in the sea, about 19 miles away from its last known position. The crash site was located off the coast of South America on the 12th of December, about 17 miles away from the C-130's last known position. The aircraft fuselage and main components were identified along with unfortunate human remains. Chilean Air Force Chief Arturo Moreno confirmed that everyone on board was killed, all 38 of them, unfortunately. In the morning of 1977, at Auckland Airport, Air New Zealand, A flight by the name 901 leaves the airport, on course over Antarctica. A few hours in, it took a turn for the worst. The plane crashes straight into Mount Erebus. This terrible tragedy is known as the Mount Erebus disaster. It is unknown of what caused the crash, but two leading factors lead in as pilot error or by the coordinates given to the pilots at night. What I'm about to say isn't for the faint of hearted, and viewer discretion is advised. So I was researching this topic and I came across this article about someone talking about being part of the cleanup crew. And they described while removing the bodies from the flight crash that their coat and like everything that they were wearing would be coated in this grease, this black grease. That was actually pieces of burned up human remains. So I never thought I would ever say that sentence in my life. So yeah. This, unfortunately, killed all 237 passengers and the 20 crew on board instantly. I couldn't find a better word for tier 5, so we're going with deep. Operation Deep Freeze. Or, in other words, just a bunch of missions that the United States have conducted in and around Antarctica. From the years between 1957 to 1958, America conducted Operation Deep Freeze 1, which was to put scientists down in the South Pole to do research studies, also called the Geophysical Year. It was also international, which 40 other nations also joined in, including America's rival at the time during the Cold War, the USSR, the Soviets. All of these scientific studies were hydrography, weather systems, glacial movements, and marine life. The United States sent Task Force 43 to conduct Operation Deep Freeze for research. They sent the following ships: the USS Wyandotte, USS Arneb, USS Edisto, USS Glacier, fitting name, USCGC Eastwind, USS Nespline, USNS Greenville Victory, and two aviation fuel carriers, the USS YOG-34 and the USS YOG-70. United States Navy Antarctic Expeditions Operation Deep Freeze lasted between 1955 to 1998. Unfortunately, I couldn't gather the amount of fatalities that occurred during Operation Deep Freeze. It was kind of hard because like one site would tell me something and the other one would tell me something different. So there were definitely fatalities. I don't know the exact number, but unfortunately we did lose men during Operation Deep Freeze. Operation High Jump was whenever the U.S. went head-to-head and fought Nazi UFOs. Whenever Hitler made an I'm just messing. It's not that cool. I kind of wish it was. That would have sounded cool in a messed up way, but that would have been cool. Operation High Jump lasted from 1946 to 1947. It was the largest military expedition in Antarctica's history. The mission aimed to train personnel, claim territory, and establish a U.S. base, known as Little America. Much like Operation Deep Freeze that took place about a decade later, this was also for scientific research and also to establish airfields around Antarctica, because it's barren. There's nothing there. Operation High Jump involved 4,700 men, 13 ships, 19 airplanes, and 4 helicopters. Much like Operation Deep Freeze, also, this was led and organized by Richard E. Byrd, who had the Medal of Honor and the Navy Cross. So hats off to that guy. I don't know if this is satire or not, but I low-key just found an article talking about how The U.S. sent troops down there to fight the Fourth Reich and Nazi UFOs. So if you want to believe that, you can. I can't really stop you. But Operation High Jump is pretty mysterious. There's kind of little on it. Like, everything's just, like, generalized. I don't know. Are they hiding something down there? Maybe. I don't know. It's up to you. Up for interpretation. I don't know. Go down there, check. New Swabia. So this is the reason why people think that we fought Nazis down there. Let me elaborate. New Swabia was an area of Antarctica explored and briefly claimed by Nazi Germany within the Norwegian territory claim of Queen Maud Island in the early year of 1939. The region was named after the expedition's ship, Schwabenland, itself named after the German region of Swabia. So, no UFOs, or maybe there are. I don't know. This was the third German Antarctic expedition led by Alfred Richter, I believe, a captain in the German Navy. The main purpose was to find an area in Antarctica for a German whaling station as a way to increase Germany's production of fat. And maybe even UFO bases, maybe? Signed in 1959 and came into force in 1961, the Antarctic Treaty establishes a peaceful zone free of military activities and nuclear testing. The treaty also promotes an international scientific cooperation. So basically, if you go down there, you're basically just a scientist doing cool scientist stuff. As you should. The Antarctic Treaty was signed by the 12 following countries in 1959. Argentina, Australia, Belgium, Chile, France, Japan, New Zealand, Norway, South Africa, United Kingdom, United States, and USSR. Google Maps. Well, whenever you look at Google Maps on Antarctica, Antarctica just looks like a blurry mess. It looks like that there's drawn over areas, large blurred out areas and whatnot. And it does look strange, but in reality, it's just the fact that satellites take dozens of pictures as they orbit the Earth, and they then send out aircraft or Google cars to, take pictures of the landscape for higher detail. Well, last time I checked, you can't really drive to Antarctica. Like, I don't think that Google's gonna send like a Google car out there. I think like there's like too much snow maybe, and I don't really get why you would send an aircraft to survey it. So I just think that we're lucky with what we have. Or maybe they're hiding something. Shh. Tier 6. The Iceberg's depths. Cosmic rays are high-energy particles that travel through space and into Earth, and through its atmosphere. Scientists study cosmic rays in Antarctica using a variety of instruments including balloons, ice-based detectors, and neutron monitors. The Pee Wee Reis map originated in 1513 with the Ottoman admiral and cartographer Pee Wee Reis. The map was created during the European Age of Discovery. The full map to this day does not exist, but the strange part is, only 1/3 of the map survives and remains. And what we have of the map today is so strange that it kind of defies our understanding and our history of cartography. It is believed that to the right, you can just see a little bit of Africa sticking out with an elephant painting on it. And to the undiscovered portions of the world to the left, you can make out maybe Puerto Rico and South America with Brazil and even the Andes Mountains. But if you go down far enough, you can make out Antarctica. Maybe, possibly Antarctica. Now, how would this be made if such wasn't discovered yet? Well, whenever I was digging around, I noticed something that it could have been from the Library of Alexandria. The Library of Alexandria was a huge library that unfortunately burned down in Egypt, which wasn't so far off of Piri Reis being an Ottoman cartographer. A Navy SEAL that went by Spartan 1 went to Antarctica, and then he told stories but remained anonymous. He told a story that he encountered a 14-foot structure that was a black hexagon or octagon, and upon entering it with just a single fingertip, a door opened. Once entering it, he met a lime green light, but he couldn't find the light source anywhere, and on the walls of the long hallway there were just hieroglyphs and unknown symbols that he's never seen before. But this is all up for interpretation and speculation. This was told on the History Channel, so believe what you want to believe. I would check that video out if you want to learn more. April 25th, 2024, in the morning of 8 a.m., a large wave anomaly appeared on the map. Over the next 24 hours, the shape appeared to spread and diffuse as it moved up north towards Africa. The one spotted in the April of 2024, some were crescent shape and more were more of a rounder shape, but still kept relatively around the same size as they both moved up north. A Ventusky spokesperson said that they have had the same problem before, and that everything is fine in the area, and that there is no anomaly. Basically just a glitch in the system. Or maybe he's lying. Shh. Atlantis is Antarctica. No, it's not. No. It's not even a theory. Atlantis, Atlantic Ocean, Antarctica doesn't really compute. Just the only similarities is Antarctica's the lost continent and Atlantis is the lost city of Atlantis. So that's all I have for this one. Reason why it's here is because some people online speculate that they are the same thing, but I can assure you they're probably not. So you can quote me on that. Tier 7. The deep down dark deep. Now this is where we hit more of like the theories. Like from now on, it's more like if you just believe it or not. There's like no solid proof behind it except for like a picture or two or he said she said type deal. So everything's just speculation for now on. A Google Maps user came across a face in Antarctica, but more than likely it's just pattern recognition. It's just like what our brains do all the time whenever we see something familiar, because humans, they're able to see patterns and our brains will just manipulate them the way that makes them more human to us. Kind of like how we like to look at clouds up in the sky and make out what we want to make out of them and what they look like. NASA discovered this huge monolith, Iceberg. Well, although it does seem photoshopped, it's actually real. With its like plateau-like shape, its very almost straight-looking edges, and like the fact that it's rectangular, they're actually kind of common. They're actually called tabular icebergs. Nothing to worry about. It's actually pretty common phenomena. In East Antarctica, a satellite found a strange oval shape in the ice that was around 400 feet long.
and scientists were baffled by it, ultimately coming to the conclusion it was somehow man-made, while some scientists say it was because of the ice melting and then refreezing. Some others say it was formed by wind, but ultimately it is unknown. We may never know why the ice is like that. Google Maps users noticed a door peeking out of the deep ice and snow of Google Maps in Antarctica. Could it be a secret layer? Could it be a bunker? Could it be even the remnants of the Fourth Reich and where they keep all the Nazi UFOs? No. No, it's just where the glacier kind of melted a little bit, and it's common. In the 1970s, in the Weddell Sea in Antarctica, scientists were baffled to find a giant hole punched into the Antarctic ice. What could it be? What could have caused this? They asked themselves. Well, 50 years later, they finally figured it out. It is caused by currents that push warmer water up to the surface that slowly melts the ice over time, creating that giant hole effect. It is known as a polynya. Polynyas don't normally last this long, which gave scientists the perfect chance to really dig in and find out what makes the polynya a polynya. Many Google Maps users have discovered a strange crash site in the South Georgia Sandwich Islands, north of Antarctica and just below Argentina. Many people, even like myself, believe it's not a rock slide or a landslide. It could be a UFO, or it could even be a part of a rocket that was meant to burn up in the atmosphere, but it came back down and crashed somehow bullseye on a super small island compared to the rest of the ocean. The strangest part that I find is the fact that whenever you try to go back to the location, it is all blurred out on Google Maps somehow. Why? We might never know. I wasn't really thinking much about making this last tier, but I think that the 3 on the left I'll just make in like a 3-in-1 type deal. But welcome to tier 8. The final tier, the Abyss. UFOs, secret bases, and advanced civilizations. Now, I should have talked about UFOs a lot sooner, other than just Nazi UFOs, but many people on Google Maps have encountered and found, like, it seems like pictures of UFO crash sites, and even a strange picture of tanks guarding a UFO. But it's all speculation. Who knows? I mean, it's probably nothing. Probably just more pattern recognition. Or maybe they're actually UFOs. Secret bases just come down to people who think like governments are running like experiments down there on people or things. Others believe like UFO bases, and even like an amalgamation of both, like the new Swabia Nazi ones. So that's all I have for bases. I think that there are bases down there, scientific ones. That's probably about it. It'd be pretty cool if there were some aliens down there, though. That would be pretty cool, wouldn't it?
This video is for educational purposes only. Please share your opinions and thoughts in the comments.
WTF to that.
And that's all I got for advanced civilizations in Antarctica. TikTok really likes to eat that stuff up. There is a subglacial lake called Lake Vostok that's been trapped under the miles of ice for millions upon millions of years. Well, a Russian scientific team near a research post at Lake Vostok Station came across a ginormous beast under the water, and it was known as Organism
46b. This Russian outpost was established in 1957, but they didn't even notice that they were above a vast body of water until 1974, so about 20 years later. And about 30 years later of nothing but ice core drilling, they finally got to the lake on the 5th of February, 2012. On the first day, whenever they breached the ice, they first encountered organism 46b, and they claimed that it turned off their radio intentionally, like it was intentional. They also claimed that this giant organism could paralyze prey from up to 150 feet by, I guess, putting venom in the water that would paralyze them. So that's terrifying. Another account is whenever one of the researchers witnessed a man smiling as it was telepathically manipulated by the beast and eaten in front of him. So that's pretty spooky. And before you think that this is the most terrifying thing ever, it can also shapeshift. The person telling this story also said that it shapeshifted into a scuba diver, which they mistaked as one of their colleagues, and it swam over and torn one of them to pieces. So yeah, great. Let's book a vacation to Antarctica. After the Russian crew escaped organism 46b, one of the crew members somehow managed to chop off one of 46b's tentacles, although later the limb attacked the group again. So this limb is chopped off and it's still attacking the team. Wow. Later on, somehow, I don't think it's explained, but they ended up trapping the creature in a tank somehow. And whenever they brought it to the surface, Russian officials seized the beast and told the intentional press that nothing has been found. Average government move. And this is all speculation, of course. I personally, I'm like 25, 75, this never happened, 25, maybe, probably, this could be like the Kraken, a lot of people talked about the Kraken back in the days of Christopher Columbus, I think. I'm not a historian, just a YouTuber. A lot of inconsistencies with this story is the fact that the creature was 33 feet long, or 10 meters, and somehow they managed to put it inside of a tank, which of that size, I have no idea. And ice core drilling is only about 2 inches, and last time I checked, humans can't really fit inside of 2 inches. Giggity. Of course, we have Agartha, the myth, the legend, the world inside of a world, created by Louis Jacquelot, something French, Jacoliot. He was an author of a book in 1873 talking about a hollow earth, and the only way in is through the North Pole, the Arctic Circle, and the South Pole, but this iceberg's about Antarctica. That's about as much traction that this is gonna get. So yeah, it's he was just an author of many famous books, just like this one, the Agartha myth. So yeah, go to Antarctica and you might find a hole. You go in there and you might be at the Earth's core. The Hindus, Buddhists, Native American tribes, and Celts believe in similar stories of human origins, mythical races, or even gods living deep in the caves away from the world. Perhaps Agartha's closest relative is Shambhala, which is often confused. So many religions do believe in Agartha. I'm not too sure if I believe in Agartha. I mean, I've never been there. I don't know, but yeah, pretty cool though. I also heard like there's an entrance near Mount Everest. I don't know.
The Earth might be bigger than we thought. For years, people have debated over the shape of the Earth, if it is round or flat. But what if the Earth had more than just 7 continents, and Antarctica is a giant ice wall that kept us from seeing the rest of the continents?
Brain damage, brain, everything.
This will be the last thing on this iceberg, and I find it to be the most far-fetched thing on the list. It has everything to do with flat Earth, the ice wall that surrounds the Earth, and that Antarctica is just an ice wall. That's all it is. Antarctica is the ice wall, and it surrounds the Earth. So, yeah. Like, I 100% believe that the Earth is round, it's a globe, and that there is no ice wall. It's just North Pole and South Pole. That's like, that has ice. And, Minnesota gets pretty cold. But yeah, there's no scientific evidence of there being an ice wall. You know, so yeah. It is now 6:29 a.m. and I began this at about yesterday at 10 a.m. So I've been working on this for about 2 days with about 5 hours of sleep. So I hope that you guys really did enjoy this iceberg. I really loved making it. I will definitely make some more in the very, very near future. I love making them, and I also love watching them from other creators. Huge shout out to them. I got my inspiration from them. So, yeah, thank you guys. And also make sure to like and subscribe, because that right there will be my motivation. Thank you guys so much, and please, please, stay crept.